Get ready to stand on guard for the
Prohibition is over, Saskatchewan. Ask Lucky Bastard today how you can make Canada's ultimate Caesar, True North and Strong. Featuring Lucky Bastard's premium dill pickle vodka, LB's famous bacon rimmer, and bacon bitters. It's not a Caesar if it's not Lucky Bastard. Order online or stop by 814 47th Street East. And tonight, why not mix your Caesar with some Lucky Bastard?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast, a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network and the official podcast of Left Wing Lock, your number one source for fantasy hockey intelligence. I'm Devin Davidson, your host. With me, as always, Bruce Gunther.
Hello.
Here on a more regular basis, John Enns.
Hello.
And the one and only Mike McLaughlin from Left Wing Lock. Mike, how you doing?
I am great. Good to see you guys.
You too. All right, so we got episode 105 fantasy preview for week 23. Of course, as always, we'll cover John's list. Fantasy lock of the week. We'll go through headlines. John's kind of making a face. Did you do John's list?
No.
I
can find something real quick, though.
Okay, we got some stuff here for you. No worries. And then, of course, we'll go through edge work. We'll cover the schedule, and we're going to cover our waiver wire targets. And Mike is going to go through our fantasy risers and fallers and our weekly top 200 rankings. So it should be another good show. No Tyler Home tonight, so the show may be a little less entertaining. I don't know, a little less humorous. Yeah, we'll see. Less of John and Tyler shitting on each other, but that's okay. My father-in-law had me day drinking today, so I've already had about 4 beers.
Make that
so
5.
Make that 5.
I just wanted to mention that this show is currently looking for a beer sponsor, and there are several great breweries in the Saskatoon area. So if you have any connections, you're interested in sponsoring a sports show, please let us know. I am supporting local as we speak.
That's a shameless plug. I love it.
All righty, let's get into it. Speaking of local and great companies, Lucky Bastard Distillers opened in 2012 and is inspired from a lottery win. Proud to be the first distillery to operate in Saskatoon since Prohibition. Home of Canada's ultimate Caesar. Mix your drink tonight with Lucky Bastard. Use promo code HockeyHacks to get 15% off your next online order. Shipping available across Canada. I love me some Caesars. I love Lucky Bastard. Go check them out. And with no further ado whatsoever, let's get into John's list. If you're new here, you've undoubtedly heard about John's list, or maybe you haven't, I don't know. But it's basically John's shit list of players past and present, as well as interesting and current topics from around the hockey world. John, I just took some liberties with your list again this week. I hope you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. I had one guy here just a second ago, and now I can't remember what his name was. Yeah. Take it away for a minute, and I'll figure it out again.
Yeah. You find that name for you. Okay, so we're going to shit on Logan Stanley this week, first and foremost, for needlessly jumping on Kirill Kaprizov's back, taking him out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Bruce, I know you died a little bit inside when that happened.
Just a little bit. Just a little.
I didn't even see it.
Do I
need to hit up the YouTubes and?
Yeah, maybe. I just watched the highlights. I did I took it out of context, but to me, it very much looked like a 7-foot giant jumped on Kirill Kaprizov's back, and it wasn't a clean check or anything. It was just kind of a stupid play, in my opinion. Mike, Bruce, any thoughts on it?
To be honest, I haven't seen it. I just read the headline, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I made the injury update and then cried a little because I have him on one of my playoff-bound teams.
Oh, shoot.
So he bear hugged him and just fell on top of him?
Yeah, he doesn't appear to make any effort to not fall straight on top of him if you look at the play. Right?
No, not at all.
Are you watching it right now?
I am watching it right now.
And you'd agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting check right there. That's an interesting defensive play.
Yep. I'll agree.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Logan Stanley. And then we're going to stick with the Jets here for a second, too. Connor Hellebuck makes the list this week for single-handedly destroying my fantasy team's goaltending stats. Now, of course, this is before today's game in which they beat Tampa 3-2. I sat him in favor of Pyotr Kochetkov, who got shut out by the Devils. And to make things even worse, Mike, I have Vanacek on my bench. So I had like almost 15 points from Vanacek and another however many points from Hellebuck. That didn't work out so well for me. But I did play Jari, and Jari came through, so that was nice. But back to Hellebuck for a quick second here. In his last 5 starts, 1-3-1, a 5.02 goals against average, and an 847 save percentage. Not good enough. And, you look at Vasilevsky, another guy who I think is considered by most the best goaltender in the league or the second best goaltender in the league most years. Both of those guys are struggling right now, and that is a concern heading into fantasy hockey playoffs.
I got my
John.
guy.
Okay, who's your guy?
Chris Tanev.
Chris Tanev.
Yep. Just don't
Yeah,
like him.
I can buy that.
Dude's trash and he looks weird.
Yes. Yes, that is a classic John List contribution right there.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. It's my
Beauty.
list.
Beauty. All right. Fantasy Lock of the Week for March 6th to the 12th, presented by Left Wing Lock. And you're going to like this, John.
Oh, it's my boy Sidney Crosby.
Your boy, Sidney Crosby.
Oh, yeah. When I saw
My-
that, I was like, oh, yeah.
Sorry, Mike. I had to. He was a real competitor this week. 7 points, 2 goals, 2 game winners, 4 power play points, 21 shots on goal, +2, 69% power play share,
Nice.
20-34 time on ice in 4 games played during week 22. So, Sid the Kid, you crushed it. You are our fantasy lock of the week.
Boom.
Alrighty. Let's move on to headlines with the Hacks for March 6th to the 12th. We'll update those notes here, Bruce, because it says February 27th. That's my bad. Way to go, champ. No problem, though. We'll stick with some current news, though. So, Bruce, take it away for us, my friend.
So we'll start the week off with some injury news. Got word that Ryan O'Reilly's going to miss the next 4 weeks with a broken finger. Just kind of feels odd that a hockey player will miss a month of playing time with a broken finger. Like it's 3 inches long. It's on your hand, but you can't play with a broken finger. I guess you can play with a broken finger.
What's 3 inches long?
Index finger. Pinky finger.
Just checking.
Oh,
You know, it's a pretty key piece to the anatomy for hockey players. So,
Yeah.
especially for a guy like Ryan O'Reilly who takes a ton of faceoffs.
Yes. Or is that John Tavares tried to remove Mr. Desharnais' wrist yesterday?
Yes, and I was actually forgot to mention him too. And John, you'll like that as well. But John Tavares should also be on John's list today.
What a knob. He actually is on the list.
You know who else is on the list? Chris Cuthbert and Craig Simpson for being the 2 biggest Leafs homers in all of sports media. That's all.
That's it.
I missed that. What did they?
Oh, it's just they're unwatchable at this point. Like Craig Simpson, even though he played for the Oilers, he's from the GTA, and it's like I don't know. If you're born in Toronto, you can't help yourself, right? It just seems like everything is Leaf centric all the time, and Connor McDavid could score 100 goals, and they would still talk about the one goal that Austin Matthews had against the Edmonton Oilers and how brilliant it was. And it's like, give me a break. Or let's talk about Mitch Marner, how brilliant Mitch Marner is and all these turnovers. I don't care. What does the guy have, like 60 points?
Just watching like my Twitter feed and everything, and it's like, oh, Matthews has 30. It's like, oh, cool.
That's it.
Yeah, nice. We have like 4 guys in the Oilers with 30 goals. Give me a break. Okay, sorry. Continue, Bruce, with the headlines, please.
Sorry. Cam Talbot's hurt again. He'll miss the next 3 weeks here. What they call it, a middle body injury. Not sure what a middle body injury is, but
Just retire at this point.
I think he's been injured more than he's played this season. So
Yeah.
aforementioned before, Mr. Kaprizov is going to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a lower body injury after Mr. Stanley decided to sit on him. What was it call it? But Tyler Seguin suffered a lower body injury on Thursday. Was seen on crutches after the game. Timeline is unknown. It sounds like he was cut by a skate.
Yeah.
So that's he'll be out a while.
I thought it was interesting that he's on crutches, though.
Well, if it went in fairly deep, you wouldn't want to put too much pressure on it
I guess, yeah.
till it heals a bit. Some injuries to keep an eye on for this week. Kevin Fiala did not play on Saturday night. He has a lower body injury. He's considered day-to-day. Pierre-Luc Dubois is dealing with a new upper body injury and may have aggravated his previous lower body injury. He's ruled out for Tuesday's game of this week, but he could possibly play Thursday. Josh Morrissey did not play in the Jets game here on Sunday. He's considered day-to-day with a lower body injury. Andrei Svechnikov did not play on Sunday either. He also has a lower body injury. Nick Schmaltz also missed Sunday's game with a lower body injury. Anthony Cirelli left Sunday's game with the Jets with an upper body injury. Twitter was saying that it kind of coincided with a Mark Scheifele penalty for a hit to the head, so it's possible that Cirelli could be in concussion protocol. Some other news. Jonathan Quick, since joining the Golden Knights, has a 3-0 record, a .939 save percentage, and 1 shutout.
So I just want to give ourselves a little pat on the back because we had Quick on this show last week as a waiver wire recommendation. Now, we did kind of hedge our bets a little bit because I don't think any of us expected this type of performance from Jonathan Quick.
No, but that's just... I read that. I actually had to go and exactly check the stats of like, really? He did that? It's like, holy shit, he's pissed.
Yep.
That's all I would say.
I love it.
He's pissed. So.
Let's get a Vegas LA Kings playoff match, please.
Yes.
Ooh. Oh, absolutely.
We need it.
Absolutely.
We need it. He's just that type of personality, Bruce, right? Like he's a fiery guy, and I'm sure he was livid.
Oh, I think was it Mike or was it Tyler that said they traded him, and then he had to take the plane back with his team back to LA. He never actually set foot in Columbus. He never left LA. He went from LA to Vegas.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Yeah,
it's a great story.
Yeah, I'm sure Quick will have a very colorful version when he gets a chance to, when he ever decides to explain it. So, the only other note I had on here was just on Twitter before we jumped on. Today's game Sunday, Tyson Berry was on the top power play unit with Roman Josi.
Oh, interesting.
So they went 3 forwards, 2D, and Berry and Josi were D. Duchesne and forget who the other two were playing the forward positions. That's interesting.
Probably Glass and Tomasino. I was curious what they're going to do with that 4th spot because they've been using Luke Evangelista the past few games on the top unit, and he was a late scratch due to injury tonight.
Okay.
So it looks like Barry took his spot.
There you go. So this not all hope is lost for Barry then.
Hope no. That's if someone passes to him.
Okay. I did want to just put a shameless plug in here for Mike for your site. For anyone looking for more news updates, go to leftwinglock.com/news. Mike, I think you guys have got that set up really well with injury roster, contract trade, waivers, and discipline notes, and all your updates you'll need are right there. So, Bruce, you said, hey, thanks for updating some of the notes today. I just went straight to Left Wing Lock and checked out some of the updates and plugged them in there. So that's what I was doing.
That's all I've been using.
Is that plagiarism?
I just go to Mike's Twitter feed and I just go through. If I need some additional details, I'll look a bit deeper, but that's pretty much where it all comes from.
Thanks for supporting the show, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it's a great source. We're just plugging it. There you go.
For next week, I'm just going to put the Twitter feed in there.
What's that, Mike?
I said, mail me a bag of those chips, John, and we'll be even.
There you go.
Sorry, this one's just a small one, so.
Oh, no. Oh, is it sour cream and onion again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing but the best.
I've been rocking the just original Doritos the last couple nights. Britt bought one of those like Costco bags for taco salad. And so just when I'm watching The Last of Us the last couple nights, I've been munching down on those a little bit. So
we have to hide those in our house.
Yeah, they don't last long.
The Costco bag would disappear in an entire day in this house.
One of the
I was going to add one quick thing here. It's not about Doritos, but it is about buying something. I bought a printer. Okay. Now I've had the same printer for like 14 years. It's one of these things where you just push a button and it prints what you ask it to print. So when I bought this new one a week or two ago, it is completely different than anything I was used to. And like I had to like download an app on my phone to set up the printer. I had to like install my own cartridges in the printer, and it has a screen and you have to like push all these buttons and answer questions. and whatever. Like I'm not like a Luddite or anything. Like I know technology. That was fine. But this printer started asking me for my phone number. It tried to get me to sign up with my credit card for a subscription to ink.
Sounds like an HP to me.
Yeah, it is an HP. I was like, what is going on?
That's exactly what they do.
Like I have my taxes were due, and I was like, I need to print out my taxes. Let me print them. And it's like, no. What language do you want? What's your phone number? How many months of ink do you want to sign up for? What's your credit card number? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm afraid to leave it on at night, so I turn off my printer at night.
It's going to start unlocking your doors.
Yeah, the other one I left on for like 14 years straight with no problem. And this one now, there's no way I'm leaving it on if I leave the room. Like, I don't know what it's going to do.
It's probably got some deep machine learning type functionality. It's going to start tracking your movements. Yeah.
A pallet of ink shows
It could
up
be
the next
printing
morning.
out a paper copy of the podcast right now as we speak. For all I know.
Oh man. All right, we got a couple things we wanted to touch on, just some news from this past week. But before we do, I just want to mention again too, the other thing on Mike's site that I love is the line changes tool. So leftwinglock.com/line changes. All the good juicy details. One being, of course, things like Tyson Berry on Power Play 1. All that information is going to be here. So Mike, you've got it broken down by even strength line changes and Power Play unit line changes as well. So just a good place. And actually, is this true? Jesse Puljujarvi was on Power Play 1?
That was a guess.
Okay.
I don't know how that ended up working out in tonight's game because I didn't check the data, but
They got shut out.
But yes, Svechnikov was a late scratch, like 30 minutes before puck drop.
Yeah.
And so we basically had to guess who was going to jump into Power Play 1.
Okay.
So I don't know that for sure.
Okay. Regardless, great tool. Check it out. All right, so some good juicy stuff that happened this week. The Boston Bruins set an NHL record, fastest to 50 wins in league history, hitting the mark in just 64 games. At this point, do we think it's just going to be Boston out of the East, or can we say it doesn't always happen to be the best team that comes out of the conference? What do you think?
I think it's whoever can survive attrition out of the East. I wouldn't be giving it to Boston by default. You look at Tampa's got goaltending issues, or just issues lately. They can't seem to win a game.
Yeah.
The Rangers can't seem to win a game either now since they made all their moves. I think Toronto's got one win since the deadline? All the moves they made, or is it 2 wins since the deadline?
Yeah.
It's gonna be really interesting. New Jersey looks great. The Hurricanes have been shut out 2 games in a row now. It's gonna be a wild finish in the East.
Yeah, I don't even know how to handicap it really. I don't know what's going to happen.
Philadelphia is going to charge up and make the playoffs late and just crush everybody.
Well, so I had another note here. Just this is according to MoneyPuck.com. So the Edmonton Oilers have the second best odds to win the Stanley Cup, according to them, at 14.4%. I don't know if you guys believe that or not. I think Carolina has the best odds at 17.6%. Is there a chance we see a 2006 rematch, Bruce?
No.
No chance?
Carolina's not making it into the finals. Not a chance.
Okay. All right. I'd love to see it. I want to see Edmonton just crush Carolina in Game 7, though. Stanley Cup final. Retribution.
I'd like to see it happen earlier than Game 7. I don't want it to go to 7 games.
No, it's that much sweeter, Bruce, when it's 7 games.
That's
I
true,
don't think I could handle like having to read the Carolina Twitter feed for 4 playoff rounds.
That's fair. That's totally fair. A couple of things here. So DraftKings odds, though, sponsor of the show. Boston plus 400, Colorado at plus 650, Carolina at plus 650, Edmonton at plus 1400. So
what was Tampa's?
I'd have to look it up for you, Bruce.
Okay.
We'll go on to the next topic here, and then I'll look it up for you.
Oh, and real quick on that note about the Carolina power play, it was Teravainen who jumped to Unit 1 tonight. And Puljujarvi stayed on Unit 2.
Okay. Alrighty. What do we got next here, guys? Speaking of the Boston Bruins again, so Dmitry Orlov gets a shot on power play 1 for Boston. Is that sustainable, Mike? Do you think is he really going to take that spot from Charlie McAvoy?
I think the motivation for making that move gives some hope that it could be sustainable. So McAvoy's a right shot, right, for Boston, and I think that's been the problem all along with McAvoy at the point. If you look back at Boston's power play, it was really, really good with Torrey Krug.
Yeah.
I think his last 3 seasons with the Bruins, they were hitting at like 25, 26% success rate, which was very good for that era, right? For like 2018, 19, 20. And then Krug left as a free agent, and that power play kind of went up for grabs. So we had Krug, who was a lefty, then what's his name? McAvoy, he's a righty. And so they tried him out a little bit, and it wasn't working very well. And they let Grizzlechek jump in, right? And he got a lot of power play time that first season that Krug was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And those two were battling it out. And I remember tracking this data. The power play was actually more effective with Grizzlechek than it was with McAvoy. But Boston eventually just said, we're going with McAvoy. And that's what they've done, all season long now. And, I think that the thing they're doing with Orlov is he's a lefty. So they're trying to make it so that, his passing avenues and passing, success rate to guys like Marchand and Pasternak on that first unit, they're trying to kind of reignite what they had with Torrey Krug, I think.
Okay.
That's what I see. And, the problem here, though, is small sample size, but Boston's power play hasn't been good with Orlov on it either. It's 1 for 7 this past weekend.
Okay.
And I missed one important point here. The whole reason, besides the lefty versus righty situation at the point, I think one of the biggest reasons they got rid of McAvoy on that top unit was because Boston's power play has sucked. If you go back to January 1st, their power play success rate is 15.6%, which is ranked 26th in the league.
So that's not good enough.
So, that's kind of the two motivating factors that I see with why they're giving Orlov a shot.
Okay. So you like his long-term outlook, or at least short-term outlook for Orlov while they test this out?
I think there's a reasonable chance here. Again, it's really just going to come down to results, right? Like if it starts clicking, they're going to stick with them. I don't see any reason they walk away from it.
Yep. Okay. Bruce, going back to Stanley Cup odds really quickly here. So Boston at 380, the Avs at 650, Carolina at 650, Toronto at plus 900 now. The Devils at plus 1,200, Tampa at 1,300, the Golden Knights at plus 1,400, the Rangers at plus 1,400, and the Edmonton Oilers at plus 1,400.
Interesting.
So there you go. Okay, what else do we got going on here? We had a few other things we want to talk about. Bruce, how early are fantasy managers going to reach for Kochetkov next season? And can he steal the Calder Trophy this year? I'm going to say no on the Calder Trophy this year. I just don't think he's going to play enough games, to be honest. He may play excellent, but it's just too late in the year, and he's not going to get enough time in the net. Teams are going to reach early for him next year, knowing that Ranta will most likely not be there. Anderson's older. He's gonna sit out some games for sure next year, and Kochetkov's going to take over. So yeah, I'd say he goes at some point in the draft. He won't be on the waiver wire next year.
Is Anderson even under contract for next year?
He's not, but they're going to sign him. You got to think they're going to sign him.
You don't think they might decide to ride with Kochetkov and find somebody else, to find an older
backup? No. This is their window, right? This is for Carolina. They need a proven veteran goaltender still. Like, maybe you don't pay him what you're paying him. I don't know, but Anderson's been very, very good for them in general. And yes, I don't think you can ride with an unproven netminder like Kochetkov, because he played really well. If you remember, and we'll talk about him a bit more, I guess, in the waiver wire segment here, but he looked really good for about 10 games, and then he kind of started to tail off a little bit before he was sent down, if you recall. Yeah. And I think with a young goaltender, like, the progression isn't always linear, right? He's going to take a step back here and there. And if I'm Carolina, where my window is the next 2 or 3 seasons, I'm not going to bet the farm on Kochetkov, winning a Vezina next season and winning me a cup.
Or they could trade him to Detroit. They did their last one.
They could. But I think, you know what? As we've seen, that was probably the right move.
Absolutely, it was the right move.
Yeah, they saw something and they were correct about it, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Kochetkov to me, and I made a note of this on Twitter a long time ago, was his penalty kill save percentage is outrageously high. I mean, it's come down quite a bit, but it's still like .914.
Oh, wow.
So there's a good bit of luck boost there. We don't really know what's going on with him.
Yeah. So I think he'll go early, but this is one of those things, Bruce. His ADP may be inflated based on the performances we've seen and the fact that it's an elite team. Like,
yeah,
look at Huberdeau, right? So many people reached very early for Huberdeau this year.
I didn't reach for him, and I still got.
No, you got it. You got him probably where you should have, right? But a lot of people took him in the first round, thinking he was going to be even better this year, and
I didn't realize he was playing on his off wing either until recently.
Yeah. I think it's going to take a coaching change, honestly, before we see Huberdeau get back to prominence.
Yeah.
Just for people who are interested, Anderson, Carolina's goalie, he went with an ADP of 54 last summer, so about middle of the 5th round in a 12-team league.
Okay. Yeah. And that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, it seems pretty reasonable. And if Kochetkov became the starter there, that wouldn't be an unreasonable time to take him either, because Carolina's a great team.
Yeah. Maybe you're right, Bruce. Maybe they let both those guys walk. They take some of the money there and they bolster their D somehow, or I don't know. There's options, I guess, but me personally wouldn't feel comfortable with basically a rookie goaltender as my starter.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Dicey.
A little bit of Flyers news here for Mike. They finally fired Chuck Fletcher. Tell us your thoughts, Mike. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. For me, I mean, first there's kind of the management aspect of all this. So they've got Danny Briere. He's going to be the interim GM, and it does sound like they like him, so he's probably going to get the spot. It's not guaranteed, but it's probably going to be him. They've been kind of grooming him for that position for a few years, and I think they kind of convinced him not to leave for Montreal, or at least when he got kind of far in that process, they started talking to him, hey, you better stick around. We got something down the line for you. But the new thing is they're going to hire a new team president of hockey operations. And they didn't have that before because both of those jobs were under the same house, and it was Chuck Fletcher. So it'll be interesting to see what that brings to the team, to have a president and a GM as two separate people.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe to me, the more interesting thing to watch this summer, besides like the names of who's the GM or who's the president, is to look at what happens with the senior advisors on the team. So from what I've kind of, just kind of reading the tea leaves by listening to all the various, Philly people and guys like Friedman and Marique and stuff, like the Flyers have three senior advisors in Paul Holmgren, Bobby Clark, and Bill Barber. And from, like I said, from kind of listening around, it sounds like they've been pulling the strings on Chuck Fletcher for the past few years. And they tried to pull the strings with Ron Hextall, and that led to a lot of friction and was one of the reasons he got booted. So for me, that'll be interesting to watch. What happens with those three guys? Do they stick around? Are they kind of pushed out? Does the new president and new GM, do they have kind of more complete power than what Fletcher had? Because it sounds like Fletcher never had full power, despite having both roles.
That's interesting. Let's keep an eye on that. That's probably time for a change, honestly.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, what can go wrong, right? Like it's already been scrapped, so clean it out. Sorry, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. It sounds like the intermediary between Comcast and the team is changing too.
That's a possibility as well. Yes. Dave Scott.
Read that Scott's going to be retiring here later this year, and that there's introducing someone new.
Yeah, I forget what that guy's name is, but he's already been hired with Comcast, and I think they're just going to push him into Scott's role. I forget his name.
Yeah, I can't remember it either. But yeah, I've heard too. They said there's probably going to be more changes in Philly, but they said they weren't sure if they were going to be public changes or behind the scenes changes. But there is going to be more change coming in out of Philadelphia. So
yeah, so it's going to be a big couple of months here before the draft. As far as strategy goes, I have one clear strategy, and I've said this all year long since the Flyers have been terrible. Don't do anything dumb like go after Johnny Gaudreau, like 90% of the fan base wants. Like, those are dumb moves. When your team sucks, there's no point in getting a good old player.
Yeah.
They'll just make you mediocre, and then you'll get a mediocre draft pick, and then you'll stay mediocre forever. The Flyers have a top 5 pick that they got last summer, Gauthier. They right now have a top 7 pick. Hopefully it becomes a top 5 pick this summer. They can trade a couple assets at the draft, which they will very likely do, and set themselves up for a top 5 pick in the summer of 2024. And to me, that is the plan for the franchise. Anything else is stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't say that like I have some great hockey knowledge or anything like that. I don't. But I've watched every team that's won the Stanley Cup since the cap was introduced, and they all have one thing in common. They all have multiple top 5 picks or assets derived from moving those picks on their team, and that's how they built them.
Yeah.
It doesn't guarantee that you'll make it to the Cup, but it is an exclusionary process. There's no team that's won the Cup that hasn't followed that path.
You have to draft and develop.
You have to. You need multiple top 5 picks. You cannot be mediocre.
And not even just the top 5 picks, but the depth throughout the draft. Like, you look at, just from an Oilers perspective right now, look at Ryan McLeod. He has been a really important piece for the Oilers this season and last season. And that's a guy drafted and developed. Stuart Skinner, drafted and developed, and now he's looking like he's going to be a starting NHL goaltender, right? Like, if we didn't have Stuart Skinner on this roster right now, where would we be? We'd have Jack Campbell and God knows who else. So it's really important to draft. You have to. Teams that win, do it through the draft. And you supplement your roster through trades that make sense, and you just, you can't trade your way to a Stanley Cup. You can't do it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. This isn't the Detroit Red Wings of 2002.
Yeah.
Speaking of the draft, I wanted to talk a little bit about Connor Bedard. And I'll start with just mentioning the odds. So right now, my first question to you guys, which team are you hoping he ends up with and why? And then the next part of my question is, where do you expect him to go in fantasy hockey drafts this summer? So first part of the question, the top 6 teams in terms of draft odds right now are Columbus at 25.5%, San Jose at 13.5%, Chicago at 11.5%, Anaheim at 9.5%, Arizona at 8.5%, and Montreal at 7.5%. So out of those teams, I mean, Mike, obviously, I'm sure you want him to go to the Philadelphia Flyers if possible. But what do you like? What do you guys think would be the most entertaining for the fans for Bedard to land?
For the fans, either Chicago or Montreal.
I was going to say Montreal.
I want Columbus.
Really?
I think they have a decent group there, decent group of fans. I think it would help their team out quite a bit. It would make them help them move in the right direction to become a contender in the East.
Probably out of that group, they'd be the closest ones to be able to come out of there to get back into contending.
Yeah, to me, Columbus seems like a very vanilla option. Like, if he goes there, who is he playing with? Like, they've got Gaudreau, right? But again, older player, good player, but older player. Line A, I mean, sure. But I don't know. The goaltending there isn't great. Like, it's just, to me, it's just not an exciting destination for a guy like Bedard. But I Chicago and Montreal, I guess, like Montreal for me especially. Like, that is, if Bedard landed in Montreal, it would just be, I think, chaos, right? It would just be, the excitement level would be off the charts.
Yeah, and he'd be centered by either Doc or Suzuki. So you've got at least a center with some experience under there.
Yeah. Now again, they've got a lot of work to do in Montreal too, but
Yeah.
To me, Anaheim's a really interesting option. I don't want him to go there because I don't want him in the Pacific. But could you imagine having Bedard and McDavid in the Pacific Division? And Bedard playing next to Trevor Zegras?
You know he's going to end up in Arizona.
Well, see, that was the second note I had for myself on here. I was like,
But then you know what's going to happen?
Arizona, and then in
Here's what's
2024-25, he'll be teammates with Austin Matthews.
I was going to say, either he's going to be teammates or he's going to be traded for Matthews, one or the other. 'Cause when Toronto flames out this year again, then Matthews is going to be on the move. And I think Arizona and they could either be teammates or be traded for each other.
The conspiracy theorist in me would say, yeah, Bettman would love that because Bedard would basically save that franchise a la Wayne Gretzky 1987, 88, whatever it was. But that would like establish a new hockey market. And then if Matthews were traded to the Arizona Coyotes, could you imagine? And they're getting a new arena at some point here too, apparently. So I don't know. Arizona could go from this dumpster fire playing in a college rink to Matthews, Bedard, and a brand new rink and a massive TV market and on and on and on. That would be really that would be crazy. But
It would be crazy.
Oh, they could have a $9 million player that's not on LTIR.
could you imagine, Bruce?
That's awesome.
I think the update this week is I think it's just over 40% of their salary cap is LTIR players.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous.
They're playing the long game, Bruce.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to if you're doing that.
Oh, man. All right. That kind of does it for headlines, guys, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about. No. Okay, I got nothing else here. Let's move on to our ad read. As a member of the Hockey Podcast Network, the Fantasy Hockey X podcast is a proud partner of DraftKings. NBA fans, it's time to bring the hoops action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 and win $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, for limited time, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game, and if it doesn't hit, you'll get a free bet back. Download the app now and sign up with promo code THPN. New customers can bet $5 on the NBA and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, with promo code THPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See show notes for details. All right, then let's move on to Edge Work, the segment where we put in the work to give you the edge in your fantasy hockey leagues, starting with the NHL schedule for Week 23. Similar to Week 22, the NHL schedule alternates between jam-packed days on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and desolate days on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Sunday. There are a total of 54 games on the schedule and a total of 4 light days. That's 50% or fewer NHL teams in action. In terms of optimizing the schedule, though, for games played, you're going to want to look at the Buffalo Sabres. They're the only team to play all 4 of their games on light days, though 3 of the 4 games are against stiffer competition, being Toronto, Washington, and Boston. Additionally, Toronto playing Buffalo, Colorado, Carolina, and Ottawa, and Washington playing the Rangers, the Sabres, the Blues, and the Wild play 3 of their 4 games next week on light days. On the flip side, there are 2 teams next week that play just twice with no light days and should be avoided if possible, Detroit and Florida. According to Left Wing Lock Strength of Schedule metric, the Anaheim Ducks, who play the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, and the Canucks, have the most favorable schedule at -12. But the Nashville Predators, with matchups against Detroit, Chicago, Winnipeg, and the Rangers, have a -11 rating with the additional 4th game, maybe a little bit more appealing. Once again, the Edmonton Oilers against Ottawa, Dallas, and Seattle have the honor of the toughest schedule with a +20 strength of schedule rating. quick recap here. 3 games on Monday, 12 on Tuesday, 4 on Wednesday, 11 on Thursday, 4 on Friday, 13 on Saturday, and 7 on Sunday. There it is. There's a schedule. That's all you need to know. Okay, boys, let's move on to NHL Week 23 waiver wire targets. Starting with one I'm not so keen on anymore, actually, to be honest. But Jesperi Kotkaniemi out of Carolina. I found it really interesting. So I noticed that he was trending up a little bit this past week, and he was actually on the second line with Teravainen and Nietzsche. So, I mean, great line mates. He's getting some time on the second power play unit. And I looked into him. Actually, 12 points and 5 goals in his last 11 games played since February 1st. However, he's since gone pointless in his last 3 games. So take that with a grain of salt. He is dual eligible. He's only 9% rostered, and he's getting nearly 60% offensive zone starts. So there is some upside there, but probably more of a deep league grab, in my opinion.
Valid.
All right. Mike, you like this one? Owen Tippett, left wing, right wing eligible out of the Philadelphia Flyers, 11% rostered, playing with Frost and Farabee and on power play 1. So I like his first line, first power play unit deployment. He's averaging nearly 21 minutes time on ice, 64% power play share, and 4.8 shots on goal per game over his last 10 games played. So I know you love guys that are volume shooters. That's got to appease you there, or appeal to you there.
Yeah, I've picked him up in 2 leagues over the past week or two, so I've been real happy with the output. And just in real life, he's been a really nice player.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a nice grab from them. I'm sure Florida is regretting that one just a little bit.
Yeah, it sounded like he was not the Flyers' first choice either, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I think I had heard that the Flyers kind of wanted Lundell.
Oh,
and
well, I'm sure, yeah.
Was like, no way. And then, so they settled for Tippett, and yeah, he's been great.
Been just fine. For those of you in Bangers Leagues, actually, he is just under 2 hits per game as well this season, so some good value there. Bruce, this one's for you.
Aw, thanks.
As the president of the Jacob Verana fan club, he's finally getting some time to play. 16% rostered. He's playing with Shannon Kapanen and on power play 2. Although in his most recent appearance, he had 65% power play share. So it looks like he's getting more time on that top unit. Speaking of shot volume, 4.3 shots on goal per game with St. Louis in a limited sample size of just 3 games. And he did score in his second game with the Blues. So some good
Very
things
nice.
there from Verana. Looks like he's kind of rounding into form a little bit. 10.2-ish is well below his 3-year and career averages of 18.4 and 14.2% respectively. And I don't know if this is accurate. Mike, maybe you can fact check this, but a 23% Tevish?
Wow.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
Huh.
Yeah. I know the guys have played much this year, but like that is not sustainable, obviously. So keep an eye on that.
Of course
but
it is.
oh, sure.
Pretty high.
That's high. That's real high.
That's a little high.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. So, some notes on Verana. Keep in mind, I do like the Washington Capitals this week. I think they bring some value. They got a couple guys there worth looking at. The first one being Dylan Strome, center right wing eligible, 19% rostered, 4 games, +6 strength of schedule. Most recently, he was playing with Oshie and Shiri on the third line and on power play 2. It's kind of an interesting situation because he's getting time on power play 2 mostly, but then the odd game you'll see he's playing more of a power play 1 role. We've talked about him quite a bit between this year and last year. He was good for the Blackhawks down the stretch last year. I think he had a career year, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, 10 points and 4 goals in his last 7 games played. Again, talking about some red flags here. His individual shooting percentage is nearly 31% over those 10 games. Those 7 games.
That's a beautiful ish.
Yeah, that's a nice ish, yeah. And just about an 80 IPP over those 7 games as well. So he's on a bit of a heater right now, but do you really care if the guy's 4 games next week and he puts up some points? Probably not. So give him a look. TJ Oshie as well has been producing. I don't have his numbers here, but he is center right wing eligible and 35% rostered. So both guys worth a look, I would say. Gabriel Velarde for the Kings, left wing, right wing eligible, 19% rostered. 7 points, 5 goals in his last 8 games, just about 60% power play share. He's on pace for a career best 55 points and 32 goals. So the guy's not even rostered in 20% of Yahoo leagues, and he's on pace for 32 goals. And Bruce, you'll love the ish. Just about 28% over his last 8 games, and almost a 90 IPP, Mike. All sustainable numbers.
Yeah, and that what I can see here is that IPP is mostly driven by his shooting percentage, because his assist rates look pretty healthy.
Okay. And then I had one more guy, and I actually picked him up this morning myself, and that was Alex Killorn out of Tampa, left wing, right wing eligible, 35% rostered, 4 games next week. He's playing in the top 6 and on the top power play. He's got 7 points, 5 goals in his last 6 games played. And that'll do it for forwards for this week. Moving on, Juuso Välimäki. Really just want to mention this guy because Chikrin's gone, Gostisbehere's gone. It's kind of a Sandin situation where somebody's got to play on the power play, and at this point it looks like Välimäki. He's averaging over 3 blocks per game in March. The shot volume sucks at just 1 shot per game, so that is of concern, obviously. But with those other D-men out of the picture here, he's got a 74% power play share, playing over 23 minutes on time on ice, and he's got 4 points in 6 games since March 1st. So there's some potential there. I don't know that I drop any D-men of consequence for him, but give him a look. Sammy Girard, we've talked about him a couple times here now over the past few weeks, but he does have 8 points and 1 goal in his last 10 games played. He's on pace for 41 points, averaging just about 23 minutes per game. Mike, when I was going through the app, it looked like Girard and Byram were kind of being used almost or deployed almost as much as Taze and Makar in terms of usage. Like they're kind of it almost looked like they were just rolling those top pairings. When I looked at the app. So again, take that for what it's worth, but it showed that their percentage of usage was very similar over the past most recent game, 3 games, and I think 10 games played. So, but feel free to fact check me.
Yeah, no, that sounds reasonable, especially later in the season. I can see a coach doing something like that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and while we're on the subject of the Colorado Avalanche, I should have mentioned Rodriguez, who was on the top line with McKinnon and Rantanen. Shandell had actually asked me about him earlier today as well. But yeah, I think he's a great pickup right now, and he's playing on the top power play unit. He's got to put it. It's impossible. I could put up points playing with McKinnon and Rantanen and Makar. So give him a look. Yeah.
I could too, and I can't skate.
Alrighty. Tyler probably wouldn't agree with this one, but I got Damon Severson here, 17% rostered. I don't know if he did anything tonight, but again, 4 games for next week. They've got kind of a weird baseball schedule for next week. They got Tampa 3 times and Florida once. I can't say I can recall seeing that before, and I checked the NHL app, and that's the schedule. So unless someone's playing a sick joke, but yeah, interesting. So he's fallen off a cliff, obviously, from what we saw last year. But he does have 3 points, 1 goal in his last 4 matchups against the Bolts, and he has 4 points in his last 5 games overall. Potentially worth a look. Some power play 2 time there. And John Klingberg, I'm kind of on the fence about Klingberg right now. I mean, he's a lock on power play 1 for Minnesota. He's just 42% rostered last I checked. But he's really just getting a lot of cardio and not doing much else out there. So, yeah. But keep a close eye on him. That situation could develop. He could pen out. Jacob Slavin is another guy to look at out of Carolina. 5 points, 2 goals in his last 5 games played. And that will do it for defensemen, unless you guys have any other input. All right.
I got nothing.
All right. Kochetkov, who we talked about earlier. So these are some of the numbers I didn't mention earlier, but when he was called up on November 10th, he posted a 10-1-4 record with a 1.94 GAA and a 928 save percentage leading up to the Christmas break. Then, like I said, he kind of tailed off before being sent down. And then he had a 19-save shutout against the Flyers this week. So it's no secret. The guy's good. Give him a look when he plays. Excuse me. Craig Anderson, or really I think any of the Buffalo netminders right now are probably worth a look. Like I said, they play 4 games all on light days, so give them some attention for this upcoming week. Anderson, at 41 years of age, has posted a 9-9-2 record with a 278 goals against average and a 919 save percentage. He's been particularly good over his last 4 appearances, 2.41 goals against average and a 938 save percentage. I think he could provide some value this week coming up.
Yeah, and remember that Eric Comrie is out. He's week to week. So Anderson's going to get 2 starts.
There you go. And he looks capable when he does. I should mention his 925 even strength save percentage is his best since 2016-2017. And his 886 PK save percentage is a little higher than we'd like to see, Mike, but probably not the worst we've seen.
Yeah.
All right, I got 2 more guys here. Goaltenders probably worth mentioning. Akira Schmid out of the New Jersey Devils, 13% rostered, a 1.99 goals against average and a 925 save percentage. Since his recent call-up on February 21st, he's played in 5 games, posting a 944 save percentage, a 1.34 goals against average, a 3-0-1 record, and 1 shutout. So he's been absolutely fantastic when he does play. Bruce, as you had mentioned, the Devils they look really good right now. Probably worth a look.
Yeah, they'll have a decision to make when Blackwood's healthy, is which 2 goalies they're going to keep up.
If you're me and you guys,
3.
well, you guys tell me, they'll probably just nothing to do about this year. But in my mind, Blackwood's gone next year. If you've got a guy like Schmid who can play, and it's a limited sample size, but Blackwood is just so injury prone. He never seems to play.
That would seem to be heading that way, I would say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then the other guy, and we had mentioned him, I think maybe last week or the week before as well, was Eunice Corpusalo, 39% rostered. 2 games with the Kings. He's 2-0-0 with 2.01 goals against average and a 929 save percentage. So I would have picked this guy up, but he wasn't available in our ESPN League, Bruce. So, but the Kings are such a good shot suppression team. I think he's going to do really well for them down the stretch here.
So him and Copley's been playing well, so they actually have a nice tandem for a change.
Yeah. Okay. Unless you guys have anything else, that's going to do it for waiver wire targets this week.
I got nothing.
Me neither.
All right. Thanks, guys. Your contributions are appreciated as always.
Shots fired.
Let's move on to weekly rankings powered by Left Wing Lock. Mike's going to run through rankings, risers, fallers, and new to the list. Mike, I love his segment. Take it away.
Yeah. All right. So it's been a few weeks because I was gone for a couple weeks out of town, and then we did the trade deadline stuff last week. So let's jump back into these rankings and see what happened. We've got Sergei Bobrovsky as our leadoff for risers this week. He jumped 25 spots. Surprisingly, this guy has a 920 save percentage and a 64% winning percentage since the beginning of February.
I had to say, Mike, when I saw the updated rankings and you sent them to me and I updated them on the website, I noticed right away that Bobrovsky was number 8 on the list. And I went, how did that get there? What happened? And when I saw your notes, then it made sense.
Yeah, no, that's the first thing I did too. I saw the list and I was like, okay, what happened here? And then I went through the data. And I was like, man, he's been on fire. Like since, what's that, 6 weeks now? He's been probably one of the best goalies in the NHL over the last 6 weeks.
That's a really good note to know heading into the playoffs for fantasy.
Yeah, definitely. And so, Florida's still kind of hanging on to this slim hope of making the playoffs. As of this morning, we had them at just under 26% odds of making the playoffs. So they're going to ride Bobrovsky until that number hits 0.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff.
Next up, we've got everybody's favorite team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, are the next two risers on the list. First up is Mitch Marner, right wing for Toronto. He jumps 22 spots. He has exploded for 18 points in his last 10 games. He's now on pace to hit 105 points over the course of the 82-game season. And that makes me kind of warm and happy on the inside because we projected him to hit 103 points this season. So it's nice to see one of the better players kind of hit his target. For fantasy managers out there wondering what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks, you might be wondering if he's been lucky. Definitely as of late, he has been. There's no way you score 18 points in 10 games without some luck, unless you're McDavid. But Marner's numbers on the whole for the season are well within the realm of not being boosted by luck. They're normal. They're healthy.
I have to say, objectively, I love Marner for fantasy, and he's just a good hockey player. But I do not like the Leafs. But he's been great, and I think for me, what's made him really interesting is that he's been shooting the puck more the last couple seasons. Because when he first came in, he was definitely more of a playmaker, and the fact that he's now shooting the puck more, scoring more, he's just a really intriguing player to own for fantasy. His shot volume actually did drop off this year. He's only at 2.5 shots on goal right now.
Yeah, it did come down a little bit. I'm not sure what the reason is for that because his ice time is greater.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, when I see something like that, something I'll do in the off season is I'll tend to look to see if the player has an increase in missed shots or shots that have been blocked.
Right.
I always want to check to see if his raw shot volume has stayed the same. So that's something we'll do that in the summer.
Okay.
Up next, we have William Nylander, left wing, right wing eligibility. He jumps 28 spots this week. Not wanting to be outdone by Mitch Marner, Nylander has generated 19 points in his last 12 games. He's on pace for 98 points this season. And if he continues on that path, he's going to embarrass me because we only had him projected for about 82 points. So Nylander has nice shot volume this year. He's shooting 3.6 shots per game, which is a nice increase for him. But his luck metrics are all telling us kind of the same story, that his performance has been boosted by luck. If you look at the team shooting percentage, while Nylander is on the ice, it sits at 10.3%. And his IPP is kind of high at 83%. The number that really jumps out to me, though, as worrisome is his secondary assist rate. Right now, that's 0.88 per 60 minutes. His career average is 0.48.
It's a big jump.
Big jump. Now, we're getting into the realm of really small sample sizes in fantasy hockey at this point. You know, most teams have under 20 games left, so weird stuff's going to happen. You might hope that the regression might hit, but it may not. So my advice to you is if you own Nylander and you're considering him as a keeper player, you should be looking at him as more of a point per game player than a 98-point player. Because that secondary assist rate, it's not going to hold up next season.
Yeah, so you say, but it could hold up for the remainder of the last 20 games or so, but for next year, yeah. Keep that in mind for drafts for next year.
That's right. All right, so now we go on to our followers here, and this first one is, to me, probably the most interesting one on the whole list. It's Timo Meier. So he got traded to the New Jersey Devils from the San Jose Sharks, and we have him dropping 31 spots this week. Since that trade to New Jersey, Timo Meier has just a single point in 4 games. Now, that was as of this morning, so I don't know what happened in today's game. It's a very small sample size, but his shot production has dropped to 3.75 shots per game over that same period. Now, this is really important to me because you know I love shot production. That's kind of a key metric. When this trade went down, I thought this is an incredible trade for New Jersey in real life. Like, they got the best player on trade deadline day, without a doubt. The problem with fantasy hockey, though, is we knew that they were going to put Meyer and Hughes on the same line. Meyer and Hughes both have averaged 4.5 shots per game prior to this trade. And so the first thought that jumped into my head, and we discussed this a good bit at the Left Wing Lock forum on trade deadline day, was when you have two guys who take that many shots and you put them on the same line, they're both in trouble.
Yeah.
In terms of shot production.
It's really...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Mike. No, I was going to say I had this conversation with a guy at work, actually. Shout out to Mike if he's listening. And he's a big Devils fan. Loves the Devils. And he was saying, oh, man, we're going to get Timo Meier. I said, yeah. And he goes, we got to put him on a line with Hughes. And my first reaction was, no, you don't. You need to put him on a separate line because Hughes is a shot monster and so is Meier. And if you put them on, they're going to fight over the puck, right? That's what's going to happen. Just a fact of life.
Yeah, you don't have the puck enough for that line for them both to keep up their shot production.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see hints of that.
Yeah, and one other thing I'll just mention quickly, you're asking about today's results. 4 shots on goal for Meier, no points, and 16-17 time on ice, which is his lowest with the Devils. Or sorry, second lowest.
Right on. So yeah, we
trash.
see this with Jack Hughes too. If you look at Jack Hughes' shot rate, he was at 4.5 before the trade.
Yeah.
And his shot production has been 3.5 shots per game in those 4 games since the trade.
Yeah. Not ideal.
So that worries me a little bit down into these last few weeks here for the Devils. For fantasy hockey managers who own these players. I think the Devils are going to be fine. They got, a great player.
Yeah.
But fantasy-wise, that's a little bit of a problem when it comes to shots on goal.
Agreed.
All right, next up is Bo Horvat for the New York Islanders. He dropped 17 spots. We've got Horvat owners have been banging their heads as he has just 1 point in the last 5 games. Part of that is because Matthew Barzal is injured, of course. But the other reason for this is because Horvat's shooting percentage has been on a huge downward drop since January. I think on January 8th, his shooting percentage was 24.1%. And I traded him that day in our fantasy league, the league we're in.
Yep.
I try to stand by the beliefs I have about fantasy hockey, and not just with words, but with actions. And when I saw Bo Horvat's 24.1 shooting percentage, I was like, nope, I'm gonna cut him. Like, he's gone. Someone else is gonna eat this cold spell. It's not gonna be me. So I did. I traded him, and now somebody else is dealing with that problem. Bo Horvat's shooting percentage is now down to 19.1% from 24.1%. And I think there's still room to fall.
Yep, I'd agree.
Last on the list here for the fallers is Braden Shen from our favorite fantasy hockey team, the San Jose Blues. He drops 13 spots to number 152 overall. Shen has just 4 points in his last 10 games. And during that same stretch, he's averaged just 0.9 shots per game. Brutal. Like, we're talking fractions here, not even single digits. Like, this is bad news.
Yeah.
Shen's not much of a shooter to begin with. He's only averaging 1.7 shots per game. And we like Shen in these kind of leagues because he's usually on the power play and he's a big hitter.
Yep.
But when you have a guy who's taking less than 1 shot per game, you're in deep trouble because 1, he's not shooting. 2, there's no way he's scoring.
That's a problem.
We looked at Shen's luck metrics before the show, and we see that his assist rate might drop in the coming weeks because the team shooting percentage and his IPP have both been high. So that's a bad combination there. You have a guy who's not shooting the puck, so he's not going to score goals. and then his luck metrics are indicating that his assists are going to drop. So
maybe avoid Braden Shen.
yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And then our player who's new to the list this week is Bruce Genther's favorite player, Jacob Vrana. He's also on the St. Louis Blues. He debuts at number 197 overall. For the season, he's averaging 2.5 shots per game. But Devin mentioned a little bit earlier that he's actually taken quite a bit more shots since his time with the Blues. So that's a good thing to see.
Yep.
And he's also been seeing time on the top power play unit.
There you go.
There we go.
Look, okay. Thanks, Mike. As always, love risers and fallers. If you guys want more fantasy fun from Left Wing Lock, be sure to check out the website, leftwinglock.com, and check out the Twitter handle at left_wing_lock.
I should change it and put more underscores in there.
underscore.
Just toss. Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, make sure to follow us too at FHHacks on Twitter. Lots of fantasy fun there to be had. So, guys, thanks again. Great episode. Had lots of fun. We'll see you again next week for fantasy preview for week 24.
Yes, sir.
All right. Take care.
Bye, Felicia.